All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We are thrilled to have you all with us again today as we go into day 2 of our pre-K adoption conference, and then today our virtual vendor fair. So to get us started today, let's go into just a few quick things. Again, welcome back. As a reminder, please do, if you have a question about any of the content that we're discussing today, please do put that in the Q&A feature. It helps us be able to track those and get you answers. If you have a question about the handout, for example, I see Dana just posted that in the chat, or any quick questions, quick technical issues, please use the chat for those. Also use the chat to engage with us or other participants. If you are wanting to just speak to the panelists, so myself, Dana, and Melissa, you can send that as a chat to all panelists. If you would like to send an answer that all attendees would see, make sure you use that little drop-down menu, and you can change that to be all panelists and attendees. Also today, we will be doing this afternoon the virtual vendor fair, as I know many of you are excited for. After lunch today, you will come back into this room, this same webinar room, and then we'll go over the logistics for how that virtual vendor fair will work. And later in the day, use some Zoom meeting rooms for that. But after lunch, we'll go over all the logistics and what you need to know for that virtual vendor fair. All right, so for today, our objectives for today are that you will use the Texas Resource Review to compare instructional materials. You'll also consider how to incorporate a pilot into your local adoption process. I know those are both things we had a lot of questions about yesterday, so we're excited to get into that. Then we'll talk a little bit about how you determine your next steps to make a final decision, and you'll have an opportunity to prepare questions for publishers. And as a reminder, if we look at our agenda from yesterday and today, yesterday, we spent some time going through the adoption journey, and you really focused on setting your vision and defining quality. You had some time to learn about quality pre-K, and then we had that great panel at the end of the day for you to ask wonderful questions and learn more. Today, we're now giving you a lot of work time to really go into comparing instructional materials and thinking about a pilot, all in the hopes of getting you ready for that vendor fair at the end of the day. And with that, I will hand it over to Melissa to go over a couple of questions that we got yesterday that we wanted to address today.
Good morning. It's so great to see so many of you returning today, and I'm excited to jump into the reports and really have some time for you to begin looking at the details and components of these products. But to get us started, I just have a few things I wanted to return to from questions yesterday and a follow-up. I would like to do a quick reminder that we are so thankful that we have publishers joining us today and those representing many of the publishing companies that will be part of our virtual publisher fair this afternoon. Please remember that a lot of our people on here are asking questions so that they can think about their selection and process. And if you have direct questions for TEA or wanting to learn more, please message us, the panelists, directly, and make sure that we're being good stewards and observers so that you can see what kinds of questions to prepare, but also allowing the time for many of our district stakeholders to ask the questions they need. Additionally, I am going to ask that if there are specific questions people have about reports or would like to discuss more about a particular publisher, please make sure that you use the chat function and only use all of the panelists. That way the TEA team can respond, because the other attendees will likely not be able to, and or reserve your questions for the publisher fair this afternoon. I do, before we jump into really looking at the reports on the Texas Resource Review, we had a question yesterday regarding assessment that I wanted to return to. The question was really trying to understand the pre-K requirements and then going into kinder. And so I'm going to share a little information, but we will be sending a follow-up email later after the whole conference and provide some links to valuable information, also including, we got some great pieces from IMCAT yesterday to also share. So we're excited to share additional resources. But back to the assessment question. For pre-K, the requirements are to conduct a beginning of the year and an end of year assessment in the 5 developmental domains that we discussed using a tool from the commissioner's list. And we can send that link in the follow-up. So there is a beginning of the year and end of year requirement with those 5 domains being assessed. And then for kindergarten, the rule is different. There are kindergarten readiness assessments that are done at the beginning of the year. And then there's a dyslexia screener done at the end of the year. And so I know that can be very confusing and there's multiple and different assessments, but really they are looking for specific information to support districts and those students and identify dyslexia early so that students and families and teachers can help to support. So I hope that helps a little bit, but we can send some follow-up information as we go. Moving into our next slide and looking at comparing products. You yesterday spent a lot of time working on your vision and writing out those top 5 requirements that you were interested in working through and finding out more information that you felt like were vitally important to align with the vision that you've created. We also took a look yesterday at the rubric, and many of you identified sections or specific indicators that were important and aligned to the requirements that you listed. So today I am going to show you some functionality of the website that might be helpful in how to dive into the reports. And then the majority of the time is really going to be spent for you to go through and look at different products, look at their attributes, and begin to think about your selection process and which products best meet your needs, with our team being behind the scenes to answer questions and support with guidance. So we're excited to jump in here, and I want to start by just sharing again which products from both the state adopted list and products that were submitted for quality review that are now up on the website. I do want to note that I shared yesterday that there are a couple reports that are delayed and will be published later this month. Those publishers are here and will be here this afternoon if you have questions and want to meet with them. And then we will be updating later when those reports will be published. We are doing our best to get them up as quickly as possible and make sure that you have accurate information about the products. So I actually am going to jump right into the website today and navigate through the products and how to look at and use the functionality on the Texas Resource Review. So right now, hopefully you're able to see my screen with the Texas Resource Review. And as you can see here, again, I point out, and maybe our team can put the link in, but it's just texasresourcereview.org. and the information in here does not require a login. Even though it says login, that has some functionality for behind the scenes, and later we'll be putting up a portion so that it's easy for publishers to submit. But right now, the login is not important for this work today. As you go into this site, I do want to share one of the things that I think can be interesting is learning more about, again, the process. If you want to know about the makeup of our review team selection, and then our rubrics, all that information can be found on this navigation bar, easily for you to access and be able to look in. We strive to have a transparent process and involve Texas stakeholders throughout to ensure that we're representing what it is you're looking for in quality, and we're providing that information in a clear and comprehensive way. I am going to jump into looking at reports. One way to navigate is if you go to the navigation bar at the top and it says View Reports. I also will mention that on your handout today, there is a link directly on there for this section. And when I view reports, I'm going to come down to pre-K. You can see some other grade content areas that are available. When I click on pre-K, you can see that there's a by grade band. And then by grade level, well, pre-K only has one grade band, even though there can be 3s and 4s in there. I think the best way to go here is to go to by grade level. When I click on by the pre-K, what you will see is just an overview in which there is all of the section headers from the rubric are listed at the top. And then you can scroll down and see each of the products that are available, the reports are available, and information, and what their percent score was for different sections. This at least 80% score recommended is a recommendation from us, just saying like these are the domains, and therefore having an 80% score would help to support alignment. But again, I want to stress that the information is in the details of the report, and this really is dependent on your needs for your district. And so when you begin to look in reports, you may have a robust team that supports with particular aspects of pre-K, or you may be using products together that meet different needs, and therefore you might want to look at products in that way. You might already have something that addresses health and wellness, and you are looking for a product that is strong in language and communications. And so it really is in the details that is critically important. This just provides a quick snapshot, but really getting into the reports is important. Once you're on this particular view, you can then jump into any of the reports and begin to look at the details within each. So I'm going to view the review. I want you to notice that it tells you a little information about the products up here. You can download a full review in a PDF. This might be an easy way to send to people on your review teams. And also a reminder about the rubric. Understanding the rubric is important to understand what's available in the information. As you go down into the reports, you can see a summary, and this summary is a quick snapshot of all the sections and an overview of the TPG alignment so that it's easily accessible. As you go in, you can see there's a quick snapshot for each section, and that's for all of the products. And then as you go deeper into each section, I can go into a particular domain, look at the indicators, and here's where you get into the depth that you're really trying to accomplish as you look at the reports. And then here I'm going to go in and look at the quality evidence. This is, as many of our panelists shared yesterday, where the details are important. Here's where the benefit of having review teams that spend hundreds of hours pays off. They're giving you detailed information about where this particular indicator shows up throughout the product. So it's not just showing in the first unit, but they're really looking throughout the product in the different components to provide evidence and share how each indicator is represented in that product. So going into those details is really important. And then I also want to share a couple other pieces to note as you look at reports. I'm going to go back to another product that I know has some additional information. We're all enjoying watching me navigate a website, so I apologize for any delay. So some of our publishers, excuse me, have submitted a response to their different products to make sure that you understand their perspective on how their product performed. I'm going to jump into here and check, but where you would see a response from a publisher is in this top area. If the publisher submitted a response to the review, you actually can read the publisher's response. And sometimes they share additional information about their perspective, maybe some things that they believe the viewers need to see so they can make sure that you know that they've reviewed the reports and they're looking at each component as well. I think that's an important piece. I also want to mention for additional information, we had some questions about that. This is the part that is not scored, but has some important information, especially for our instructional materials coordinators and our tech. You can find the full report for technology where it pulls out, what's the compatibility. These reports are PDFs to be able to look at. And I'll just share briefly one of them with you. You can see there's a lot of information about the access and use. Is it a single sign-on? Is it digital only? Specifications. So this is important information we know that you're looking at while you're making your decisions. You can find out more about additional language supports that are provided. So some products provide additional language supports. You can learn about the professional learning opportunities. All of these would be really important. You can review this so that when you prepare for your meetings with the publishers, you've had a chance to see what the offerings are and you know what questions you want to ask. So I'm going to pause there with this review, see if I know maybe there's some questions. Team, let me know if I need to address anything. As we go through, I want to make sure that I'm answering the questions for you to have. You can learn a lot more information. At the end of each of the products, you can see a publisher's page. We also try to include links and information directly to the publishers. We want this to be easy access. Oh, someone asked comments from the publishers. If you go to the very top, when you click on a product, if they have a publisher response, it would be right up top here next to the rubric or next to that download full review for you to be able to take a look at. I'm going to show you a different view and functionality that can also be helpful in this. If you go back to the navigation bar at the top, there's a section, there's a title called Compare Materials. When I click on Compare Materials, it brings me to this screen to be able to go through and filter and do a side-by-side comparison. I know that many of you probably do some online looking at things. Just a quick share, I have a son who's about to drive, and so I've been looking at some different vehicles, and I like to do that side-by-side comparison. This particular feature and functionality of the website allows you to do that. So how this works is you can see on the screen, there's a refine search. I'm going to go in here and pick pre-K. Once that happens, the grade level, obviously the only grade level for pre-K is pre-K. You can look at alignment. This is the standards alignment, and you can begin to look at different filters that are important for you. If you already know which publishers you're really interested in looking at, you can select those here. And then I'll do pre-K. Doing this filter for pre-K really opens up this quality criteria. This is linked to our rubric. What I do under this filter, which I think is really interesting, is you can pick out the sections that you want to focus on the most to be able to look across them and make sure that they have, if you're looking for 100% on a particular feature, you can click on those criteria that are most important, and it's listed. You can see the different sections, and that helps you to begin to refine your search and pull up products. But what I'm going to do right now, I can go through and filter those, and it will begin to narrow what's available in the list. But I'm going to right now just do a quick overview where I'm going to do a comparison between 3 products. I'm just picking the 3 products that are up top here. What you see is that once you start to add to a compare, it produces a notice on the bottom that helps you understand what you've picked. You can compare up to 3. You can see I put 3 products in here. When I click compare, this gives you a different view for what you're looking for in the products, and you can compare across products. I'll give it just a second. Sorry for the delay. If you're like me, today is my remote day, and we have a lot of people on the Wi-Fi in my house, so I apologize for the delay. I'll give this one more minute to see. Again, you should have an easier time than I probably am. I'm having a little bit of probably some Wi-Fi issues, so I apologize about that. What you will begin to see when this comes up is that the 3 products that you've selected are going to be side by side. And here we go. Yay. So you would see each product, you could look at them across each of the criteria for the sections. And now I have the opportunity to just look at them across very quickly. What I think is really interesting is about the section 12 at the bottom. You actually can see a quick view of some critical points about the technical specifications that you could take a quick look at, get to those reports. You could take a look at pricing. We could look at professional development opportunities. What do they have available? And then you can see right across the board the language. So this is another view that is really helpful in looking at products, and especially as you begin to narrow down those products that are your top selections. So I'm going to look at the chat and the questions really quickly. Yeah.
Melissa, if I could jump in, I could give you two things that I think would be really beneficial to show one more time. We're getting some requests to see the technology review one more time, and then a way to filter language. And I know you just touched on both of those, but since those are big questions, I think it'd be great to see both of those one more time.
Let's go back to where I was. So there are different ways to see this in the report. If I'm in this compare materials, because those are in the section 12, that's additional information. At the very bottom, you can see a quick overview of key aspects from the text specs form, format, platform, standard compliance, but you can read the full report directly by clicking on this link. And then here you can see at the bottom, there's additional language supports, and this will help you understand does it have all materials available in Spanish? Is the entire product available in Spanish? And all of that information is provided here. I want to remind people that we are currently doing the review of the Spanish pre-K products, and we'll have those up later in the spring and early March for you to look at, and all of that will be available. Dana, did I answer those questions? I think I can go back here and also show where to find that if you're looking at a specific product. So if I'm looking at a specific product here, I can go into the view report. Again, pardon me for the delay. I think all of us are trying to have patience with Wi-Fi. Here's the whole report, but if you go to the section on additional information, here would be clicking into each report and learning more about those products. Okay. Let me check and see. Yeah, so I had another question about, are all of the products in this program? I'm not sure the question, Jennifer, if you want to help me understand what you would like for us to show, I'll be happy to do so. I did have another person ask about where will the Spanish reports be located at. Once we have the Spanish reports, we'll be having a section that will directly call to Spanish pre-K so that you'll be able to look at those as well, and you'll be able to look at them alongside the English products. The other part that I just wanted to share is like which products are available in Spanish. You can find that information in the reports for section 12, but I'm going to quickly bring you back to TEA proclamation. I find searching for certain things can be challenging sometimes with our website, but if I go to Proclamation 2021, and I showed you this page yesterday, you can also go on to the list of adopted materials. So right here, publishers and materials adopted, you can take a look at which, here's the list of instructional materials adopted. This is a PDF list, and this list will tell you additionally if it's available, which products are in Spanish. Sorry, you probably can't see that very well, but you can see which products are also available in Spanish, and those will be the reports we put up. Just a reminder, if a report is not currently up, I shared that they will be going up later this week. And if you're looking for something that's on the state adopted list and it's not there, we will be getting those up. I'm hopeful that we'll have those additional reports up by the end of next week so that you can have access to them as soon as possible. Are you able to compare resources when each domain is broken into 4.2, 4.3? So the answer is when you go to the compare, you're going to see it across sections. So there isn't a way to break it down yet by indicators. We definitely continue to improve the functionality of our website, and we'll continue to look at those. But right now you would have to go into the individual reports and look at each of those by the indicator. And really an easy way to do that is by going to this grade level, pulling up a specific report, looking at a report for, if I pull up a report and I look at, you were asking about the sections, I can go right into that section and then begin to look at the indicators themselves. We don't yet have a functionality that compares across. It would only do it by section for this compare materials. Yeah, the question there about which ones have a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old program, it's embedded in that. So that's a great question and something maybe our team can look back at if there's an easy view for that. Dana, if you want to jump on, I know you know the rubrics so intimately, maybe you could help direct where in which section and indicator in the rubric would tell you a little bit more about what's available for information on 3s and 4s.
Yes, I'm happy to jump in there. Just looking back at the rubric, if you are interested in knowing what the differentiated supports in the program are for 3s and 4-year-olds, you should definitely note down indicator number 2.4, which is in section 2 of the rubric. That one is materials fit within a developmentally appropriate programmatic structure. And reviewers looked into whether the materials specify whether they are for 3 or 4-year-old children. Thank you, Melissa, for navigating there. As an example, you'll see 2.4, and you can see the quality review evidence for that indicator. So I would definitely look at that indicator if that's something that meets your local needs.
One thing I forgot to mention is if you hover over these information boxes, that gives you a little more detail about what the guidance is in the rubric, so you don't have to keep going back and forth, but that can help as well for what you're going to find information about before you begin clicking in there. So as we move into our, I'm going to go into this time. So we actually have scheduled for you a good chunk of time to begin comparing products. And we put this chunk of time in there because, one, if you're attending the conference, you've taken some time, and often you may not have that dedicated time to look at all these reviews. So we're going to put forward 90 minutes from here until 11 o'clock, and then we'll have a break in which you should go in and begin to look at the products that you're interested in seeing. I would strongly suggest that you first maybe identify specific sections and or indicators so that you're able to look at products, reports across products, and look through there. On your handout, we put a little bit of a table. This is just really a note catcher, but things to think about or jot down as you go, which products you're looking at, what are the strengths, that you see that make you really interested, and then a place to start recording questions you have so that either you can go deeper into reports and or ask the publishers when you have time this afternoon. So those pieces are there. Our team is going to be available in the chat and questions. And then I also think Kendrick might have an option if you're here with some teams of how you could go and actually collaborate together virtually. So I'm going to have Kendrick mention that, and then I'm going to send you all off to start looking at reports.
Great, thanks, Melissa. So if your whole team is attending virtually and you don't have your own way of collaborating virtually, we are going to open up a Zoom meeting room and you can join there. In just a moment, I'll put that in the chat. And what you can do, again, if you have your own Zoom accounts, you have your own Microsoft Team accounts, whatever way you collaborate best, please feel free to use that during the 90 minutes. But if you don't have something like that available from your district or your organization, we would be happy to offer that. You can join the Zoom room that I'm about to post in the chat and open up. And from there, when you join, I will help you get into breakout rooms so that you can work collaboratively with people there. All right, I see something in the chat that says I froze. Melissa, were you able to hear what I said?
I heard what you said,
okay.
Kendrick.
I'll repeat one more time just in case it froze for anyone else. But essentially, if you need a way to collaborate, you don't have a virtual platform to collaborate with other members of your team, and you are all here virtually, we will be opening up a Zoom meeting room where you can come in and I'll help arrange you in breakout rooms so that you can work with people that way.
So just a quick reminder, you'll be leaving this Zoom room for just a little while to join Kendrick, and that way she can set you up in breakout rooms with a team if you want to. But I will be remaining in here to make sure that I'm answering questions and through the chat and the question and answer. Just to share with you, I had a really quick question about which ones are on, I think asked on the state adopted list. That state adopted list is on that Proclamation 2021 page. Those are the products that are available in our EMAT, our statewide ordering system. And there is one additional product that was reviewed for quality, but not part of the state adopted. That's Apple Tree's product, but you should take a look at it. As for approved by TEA products, we provide this information for you, but it really is a local decision about which products you select for your students and faculty.